The Akko CS Switches has taken over the budget keyboard market, quickly becoming one of the most popular options for entry-level builds. Akko is back with their new Jelly CS Switches, and they've stepped up the quality, but also the price. Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. Today, I'll be looking at the new Akko CS Jelly Switches. For transparency, Akko did send these for review, but it will not affect my opinion in any way, and I didn't get to see any part of this review before it went live. Akko has sent me 3 of their new Jelly Switches. The Jelly Pink, the Jelly Sponge, which is a recolor of the Jelly Blue tactile switch, and the Jelly Starfish. But I also have the Jelly Whites, which is an updated version of their vintage white switches, the Jelly Blacks for those who like a heavier switch with its extension spring, and the Jelly Blues, which I technically have in the sponges. The unboxing experience is what you would expect from the CS Switches, and is something that often gets a lot of praise, especially given the price. Speaking of the price, the Jelly Switches come at a price of $12 for 45 switches, or about 27 cents a switch. This is a bit more expensive than the usual pricing of $10 for CS Switches, but is far more cheaper than their Demon and Princess switches. The Jelly Switches come with a transparent polycarbonate top and bottom housing with a palm stem. This is different than previous CS Switches, which had a palm bottom housing. The Sponge and Starfish bottom housings are opaque, but I assume that they are still polycarbonate. The Jelly Switches also come with a dustproof stem, which we saw on the Demon Switches, but the Jellies have a more hexagonal outer stem, while the Demons are more round. All of the Jelly Switches come with 22mm springs, with the Sponges and Starfishes coming with 2-stage springs. The Sponges are the lightest of the bunch, with a 40-gram actuation force and 57.5 bottom out. The Pinks have a 45-gram actuation and a 57-gram bottom out, and the Starfish has a 50-gram actuation and 60-gram bottom out. Pinks and the Starfishes are linear, while the Sponges are tactile. The Jelly Switches have very little stem wobble because of the dust-proof stem, so filming isn't necessary. Unlike the Demons, these do not have a LED diffuser, but they do have a cutout for SMD RGB, though the colors will be tinted towards the color of the housings. They are 3-pin too, so you won't need to clip the legs if you have a 3-pin board. The Jelly Switches use a traditional MX top housing to open, but the Sponge and Starfish both use a Kale style housing, so keep that in mind. None of these switches have long pole stems, which Akko's own Radiant Reds have, which is disappointing. The Jelly Switches don't come with any factory lube, and they are still decently smooth stock, but there is still a lot that can be improved on with the smoothness. I lubed all of these switches with Bad Z-Tech Speed Lubing Guide with 205 grade 0 on the Pinks and Starfishes, and Tribosis 3203 for the Sponges, with GPL 105 on all of the springs. Here's a quick comparison of the switches stock and lubed, but I'll have full sound tests at the end for each switch if you're interested. My main complaint with Akko's tactiles is that they are super pingy, even after being lubed, and the Sponges are no exception. I think it's more the leaf than the spring, but lubing the leaf will reduce tactility in exchange for improved acoustics. The Sponges feel like a no pre-travel tactile, because Akko says that there's a 0.3mm pre-travel distance, which is impossible to feel. These are dual tactile bump switches, which means that there's also a bump when the stem is traveling back up, which results in a snappier upstroke, which I actually really like. Both the Starfishes and the Pinks became noticeably smoother, but I honestly don't feel the difference between it and the other Akko CS linears in terms of smoothness, so I think the $2 upcharge is mostly for the box style stems. They are on the clacky side, so if you want a more thocky Akko linear, my recommendation would be the Radiant Reds. So which one is my personal favorite? Out of the 3 Jelly Switches, my personal favorite is the Starfish. The Sponge has a really nice feel, but the acoustics are a deal breaker for me, and the Jelly Pinks are too light for my preference, so the Jelly Switches are my favorite. I think that these are definitely a step up from their previous CS Switches with the stem wobble, and the $2 upcharge isn't a problem for me. I think that Akko's found a recipe for good budget linears, but their tactiles definitely need to be improved in terms of acoustics. What I would like to see them try in the future is a different switch than their regular linears and tactiles, like a silent switch, or a clicky switch with a click bar, similar to a box Jade. If they can do this while keeping the cost at under 30 cents a switch, I think that Akko will become a budget powerhouse, and definitely one that beginners will gravitate towards. I'll have affiliate links for everything in the description. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It supports me and supports my keyboard addiction. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.